this meeting to order. This is the June 22nd, 2023 Franklin Municipal Planning Commission, and we'll begin with roll call. Commissioner Allen,
Present.
Commissioner Franks,
Present.
Commissioner Harrison is absent, Commissioner Lindsay is absent, Commissioner Mann,
Here.
Commissioner McLemore,
Present.
Commissioner Orr is here, Alderman Peterson,
Here.
Commissioner Williamson.
Here.
Accommodations have been made to ensure that the public is able to participate in the meeting. The public may participate in the following ways: watch the meeting on Franklin TV or the City of Franklin website, watch the live stream through the City of Franklin Facebook and YouTube accounts, email comments to planningintake@franklintn.gov to be provided in full to the commission and included in minutes, but not read aloud in their entirety during the meeting. Emailed comments are accepted until 12 p.m. noon on the day before the meeting. Comment in person in the boardroom. Speakers will be asked to fill out a speaker card prior to the meeting starting. Speakers may sit in the boardroom or wait in the lobby. For citizen comments, this is open to citizens to be heard on any issue or concern, including those related to items on the agenda. Please submit a speaker card at the beginning of the meeting if you would like to address the commission. If you'd like to speak on an agenda item, the chair will hold your comment until public comment period on that item associated. As provided by law, the commission shall make no decisions or consideration of action of citizen comments for items not on the agenda, except to refer the matter to the planning director, staff, or administrative consideration, or to schedule the matter for consideration at a later date. Those addressing the commission are requested to come to the microphone, identify themselves by name and address for the official record. The chair may restrict the period for public comment, including the length of the public comment period, the number of individuals who can speak at the length of time each individual may speak. When time allows, the standard individual public comment time is 2 minutes. All right. Item 1. Consideration of the approval of the May 25th, 2023 FMPC minutes. Do I have a motion?
Move for approval. Second.
Have a proper motion and a second. We'll begin with the roll call for approval. Commissioner Allen,
Aye.
Commissioner Franks, Harrison is absent, Lindsay absent, Commissioner Mann,
I'll abstain. I wasn't here.
recuse, Commissioner McLemore,
Aye.
Commissioner Orr votes aye, Alderman Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Williamson.
Aye.
All right, ayes have it, motion passes, minutes are approved. Staff, do you have any announcements?
I just have one announcement. On Monday, June 26th, we'll be holding a community meeting for the Factory District at Liberty Hall in the Factory from 5 to 7 p.m. That's a public meeting for comments and feedback on the draft recommendations for the Factory District in the Envision Franklin update. So just wanted to announce that for the public.
All right, thank you. Next topic will be a vote to place non-agenda items on the agenda. Are there any of those items? None? All right. Moving on to item number 2. Condition of approval of items 3 through 12 and 20 through 22 of the consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Okay. So I had a second by Mann. Motion to approve by Ms. McLemore. Commissioner Allen,
Aye.
Commissioner Franks,
Aye.
Harrison is absent, Lindsay absent, Commissioner Mann,
Yes.
Commissioner McLemore,
Aye.
Commissioner Orr votes aye, Alderman Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Williamson.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Consent agenda is approved. So we move into item number 13. Consideration of Resolution 2023-010, a resolution to adopt an Envision Franklin Plan amendment for the parcel located at 4315 South Carruthers Road, known as map 089, parcel 04600, to change the design concepts map from mixed residential to neighborhood commercial. Staff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This application is to amend the Envision Franklin Design Concepts Map for a 3.96 acre parcel located at 4315 South Carruthers Road and is part of the Lockwood Glen PUD subdivision. You may remember this proposal originally presented at the March 23rd meeting, then it was deferred to the April 27th, and then deferred again to today, June 22nd. The property currently has the mixed residential design concept, and the applicant is requesting the parcel receive design concept of neighborhood commercial with a special consideration as follows. Given the proximity to the Lockwood Glen neighborhood to the south, the uses at this location should be limited to restaurants without a drive-through, office, retail, and personal services, all which emphasize local, small businesses. Buildings should be designed to fit the neighborhood scale at a maximum of 2.5 stories with flat or gable roofs. The planned district is the appropriate zoning district to implement this vision. The parcel is mostly covered with trees and brush, along with a stream that flows along the southern border into Robinson Lake. There are some changes coming to this area, including a traffic signal at the Carruthers Parkway and South Carruthers Parkway, as well as the approval of a gas station and other commercial uses across Carruthers Parkway. Yet the staff has shared our concerns with the applicant that commercial uses would need to be compatible with the Lockwood Glen neighborhood due to the proximity to existing single-family uses, and that the planned internal street connectivity is the only available access to the site. A full access point to South Carruthers Road would likely not be supported by the staff, so traffic generated by the commercial uses would use the local streets in Lockwood Glen. Due to these concerns, staff does not find the proposal meets the 4th and 5th criteria to amend Envision Franklin. Staff recommends disapproval of Resolution 2023-010.
All right, thank you. Public comment. Mr. Edwards, would you come forward, please?
Hello, Christopher Edwards, 9002 Winlock Lane. I currently serve as the president of the Lockwood Glen Homeowners Association. I just wanted to say, first of all, thank you to Mark Nostel from Crescent and Greg Gamble for their collaboration in this. However, at this time, our recommendation would be that it be deferred until the traffic can be determined on this parcel of property. We do not really want to see this funnel into the Lockwood Glen Homeowners Association, which is the way that it's currently mapped. We would like to see an alternative plan to where that funnels out onto South Carruthers Parkway and not into the HOA. And until that point, we would just ask that this be deferred. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else like to speak on this matter from the public? None? Okay. Presentation by the applicant.
Hi, good evening. My name is Greg Gamble, and I'm representing the applicant Crescent Homes in this request for an Envision Franklin plan amendment. As you're well aware, we've deferred a number of times from the Planning Commission agenda. We really wanted to make sure we were coordinated and had full communication with the various neighborhoods that are around this property. We've had 4 neighborhood meetings. The 8.5 by 11 document that you're receiving now is documentation from the neighborhood meetings that we had. We presented several boards, including and requesting comments on the existing conditions, the park system, the Envision Franklin design concepts. We asked specific questions about desirability of outdoor spaces, architectural character, building height, and then permitted uses. Through these neighborhood meetings, we received a lot of input from the community of things that they really just did not want to see as a part of this, a funeral home, which is permitted in neighborhood commercial, but we don't want to include as a part of this plan. There were other uses that were requested to be excluded. And through these neighborhood meetings, we were able to work out special considerations that would be included and incorporated into Envision Franklin. For this particular property, the special consideration states, given the proximity to Lockwood Glen to the south, the uses at this location should be limited to restaurants without a drive-through, office, retail, personal services, all which emphasize local small businesses. Buildings should be designed to fit the neighborhood scale in a maximum of 2.5 stories with a flat or gabled roof. The planned district is the appropriate zone district to implement this vision. This property is already planned district. It is within the PUD of Lockwood Glen. A revision to the Lockwood Glen PUD would need to be requested in order to accommodate neighborhood commercial uses and these 4 uses specifically for this property. Staff had noted in their staff report that the current PUD restricted access to South Carruthers Road. The second handout that you have is an 11 by 17. This shows the requirements in today's street standards. At an intersection where you have a minor collector intersecting to an arterial road, an unsignalized intersection is required to be 300 feet from that intersection. Where you have a low-volume driveway, the intersection is required to be a minimum of 230 feet from that low-volume driveway. You can see that there is an area on this property that could accommodate a connection to Carruthers Road. Now, at the time that the the Lockwood Glen PUD subdivision was approved, there was concern about how much traffic would exit out onto Carruthers Road. We understand that concern. With a revision to the PUD and with incorporation of commercial uses on this property, we can look at a couple of things. Is crossing the creek with a drive still the right solution? Is connectivity of commercial driveway onto Carruthers Road, is that an appropriate solution? I understand staff's recommendation because the existing PUD does not support a connection to Carruthers Road. It's difficult, it puts staff in a difficult position. It's almost kind of a chicken and the egg or a catch-22. We've been talking today with Jimmy Wiseman and Emily about adding some additional language that's not in front of you tonight to let you consider connectivity as a part of the Envision Franklin special considerations. So we're willing to defer a month on this so that we can come back to you with some additional language, working with staff on how to address connectivity, driveways as it relates to commercial uses on this property and what happens with this connection to Lockwood Glen. So we're fine with a deferral tonight as it relates to these items specifically. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
All right, thank you. Discussion?
Well, Greg, oh, go ahead.
No, you go.
I think you've done a wonderful job. You're asking for a revision to Franklin, Envision Franklin, correct?
Correct.
And, you know, it's, hadn't been many of those granted since that was adopted. But in this case,
Can we get a motion on this one before we discuss?
oh, yeah.
I was just gonna say, I move that we defer for 30 days. Oh, is 30 days, would 30 days be enough or to the next meeting or 60 days? What do we
To the
need?
July 27th Planning
To the
Commission.
July 27th Planning Commission meeting.
And I'll second that.
All right, had a proper motion and a second. Can we talk about it?
No, we'll talk about it next month.
Would anybody like to discuss this today?
I think all I would say, I also like the plan. I'm fine with the uses that you propose. I think the access on the South Carruthers is going to be a really critical piece that I think without that, I wouldn't support the change. But if you're able to get city support to get that access on the South Carruthers, I could fully support the project.
Thank you.
I'm not thrilled about seeing access to that parcel through the neighborhood.
I'm sorry?
Not thrilled about seeing access to the parcel through the neighborhood.
That was one of the number one comments we received at the neighborhood meetings. They would prefer that there be a pedestrian connection only. We really need to have greater conversations with city staff about that particular issue.
And, go ahead, Alma. And I guess what I want to see discussed, because what concerns me is though, Lockwood Glen was approved, and the condition of approval was that there would not be access to Carruthers Parkway. So that needs to be discussed though, because see, there is no Lockwood Glen without that condition of approval. So we don't need to gloss that over either. So that's something too. So that needs to be discussed, and I will have that as a point of discussion. So Greg, you guys, Gamble and Associates, need to consider that too when you're discussing that with staff, because that's not anything I'm prepared to gloss over either. There was a reason for that. Okay, so let's just make sure we consider that too.
So we have a motion to defer. Let's speak about that motion. Is there any other comments on
No, I just want to
deferring?
make sure we know what we're going to be discussing next month.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, let's do a roll call vote here. Commissioner Allen,
Aye.
Commissioner Franks,
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison's absent, Commissioner Lindsay absent, Commissioner Mann,
Aye.
Commissioner McLemore,
Aye.
Commissioner Orr votes aye. Alderman Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Williamson.
Aye.
Ayes have it. The motion passes to defer to the July Planning Commission meeting. All right, item number 14, consideration of resolutions 2023-011, resolution to adopt an Envision Franklin Plan amendment for the parcels located at 3453, 3465, 3485, 3513, and 3515 Carruthers Parkway, known as map 089, parcels 02611, 02605, 02604, and 02600. To change the design concepts map from mixed residential to neighborhood commercial. Staff?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This application is to amend the Envision Franklin design concepts maps for 4 parcels located at 3453, 3465, 3485, 3513, and 3515 Carruthers Parkway. This proposal was originally presented with the last one at the March 23rd meeting, the April 27th meeting, and again tonight. The subject properties are bound by I-65 to the east and Carruthers Parkway to the west. The properties are designated mixed residential design concept, and the applicant is requesting the parcels receive the neighborhood commercial design concept with the special consideration as follows. This commercial node should provide services to the growing residential corridor while being designed within the neighborhood scale. The neighborhood scale in this location should include building heights with a maximum of 2.5 stories and should allow both flat and gable roof styles. Recommended uses should include restaurants, office, retail, daycare, and personal services, which emphasize local small businesses. Gas stations and drive-in quick service restaurants are inappropriate for this area. The planned district is the appropriate zoning district to implement this vision. The total acreage of all 4 parcels is 10.07 acres, and each property currently has 1 single-family home each. There are some changes coming to this area, including a traffic signal at the Carruthers Parkway and South Carruthers Parkway, as well as the approval of a gas station and other commercial uses on a bordering property. Staff believes with these changes in the area, along with the extra meetings done by the applicant with neighbors to draft the special consideration, as well as the location of these parcels that back up to I-65 in front Carruthers Parkway, that this request meets the plan amendment criteria of Envision Franklin. Staff recommends approval of Resolution 2023-011.
All right, thank you. Does anyone from the public like to comment on this item? Seeing none. Presentation by the applicant.
Thank you all night. My name is Dennis Carruthers. I live at 3465 Carruthers Parkway, and I've been there a long time. 25 years, I remember. I've been there so long, I remember when Mrs. Lockwood, her cattle got onto 65 and shut it down, and we were out there all night trying to get the cows back in. That used to be residential. Then they put a barrier on the other side of us, which put the sound into us, because we didn't get 2 highway sound barriers, we just got one on the other side. So then they came and enlarged Carruthers Parkway. We went from 200 cars to thousands of cars a day now. They're going to go 4 lanes. And then the gas station came, and that's when I got to know your staff. And I think they're great. I want to thank Andrew Orr and Jimmy Wiseman and Amy Diaz. Thank you, guys. They really took a lot of heat, took a lot of complaints, and worked with us. And it's just no longer a residential sleeve. I'm trying to raise small children right there. There's going to be a stoplight. It's going to create a problem coming in and out of my driveway. I'm the second one from the bottom, the one that opens up bigger on 65. So I said, let's remedy this. I suggested to the staff, let's remedy it with a commercial. Let's have some coffee shops and wine bars and restaurants and just have some fun. And there's going to be a gas station, and we know that. So, and I really don't want to raise my small children next to a convenience gas station, although I know the sports park is coming, which is pretty tempting. But this gave us, this was a remedy for us, I felt. So we've been working on that, and I think it's a good idea. They're going to do a PDD, a Planned Development District, which would give the city control over whatever goes there. So there will be no, like Greg said, no funeral homes, no liquor stores, no fast foods, just, something maybe akin to what's on McEwen over here, something, a really nice walking place for people to go at night and enjoy themselves. I think that's a better use of that little sliver. It's just no longer a residential sliver. And with 4 lanes coming from Carruthers Parkway soon, that's even going to be less residential. And thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And we've enjoyed living there, by the way. We're ready to move, maybe.
Thank you, Commissioners. Again, my name is Greg Gamble, and I've had the good fortune of really bringing you a holistic vision of this intersection. Instead of piecemealing it, we're really looking at what could happen here in the future. There are changes that are coming. The property that's just south of these shaded lots is currently zoned neighborhood commercial, and there is an approved site plan for those properties. In our neighborhood meetings, we were able to provide some site plan information on what has been approved there. The property line that looks like it's going through the lake on the south is actually cutting just below some existing wetlands that are on that property. The entire length north to south on that property is right at about 550 feet. That southern 200 feet is a preserved wetland that will have wetland enhancement plantings associated with the lake. That's already a part of the site plan that's approved. So from that 200-foot offset then where you have the wetland, the fuel center is actually another 70 feet north of that. So it's directly across the street from the property that we were just discussing. And I wanted to talk about that a little bit tonight for those people who are watching maybe on TV, that they can understand that the fuel center that we're talking about on that property that's already approved is actually further north, I think, than some previously thought in the neighborhood meetings. That development is extending gravity sewer all the way to the southern property boundary of the hatched area that you're seeing on the screen. They're extending the Mill Crofton water line all the way up. They are installing traffic signals at the intersection. They're putting in new turn lanes at that intersection to accommodate. So there's a lot of off-site improvements that are coming that really start to speak to why neighborhood commercial would be viable on the properties that you're reviewing tonight. All of the property owners associated with this Vision Franklin Plan amendment have agreed to commit to these uses of restaurant, office, retail, daycare, personal service, with a focus on small business. And so it has been a very collaborative effort. We've really appreciated all the comment we've received from the neighborhood that surround us, and hope everyone feels like they've been included in that process. So happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. To have a motion on this item?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Have a proper motion and a second. Discussion?
We are saying that the special considerations is definitely a part of this. It's on the last page.
Yes.
There. We just wanted to make sure.
Anything else? Nope. Let's have a roll call vote. Commissioner Allen,
Aye.
Commissioner Franks,
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison is absent, Commissioner Lindsay is absent, Commissioner Mann,
Yes.
Commissioner McLemore,
Aye.
Commissioner Orr votes aye, Alderman Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Williamson.
Aye.
Ayes have it. The motion is approved. Item number 15, consideration of resolutions 2023-49, a resolution adopting a plan of services for the annexation of property located south of the intersection of Painesville Road and Pratt Lane, outside of the southeastern part of the Franklin urban growth boundary by the city of Franklin. Staff?
Thank you, Chair. The city has received an annexation request for a property in the Goose Creek Basin that's located outside of the UGB, located south of the intersection of Paytonsville Road and Pratt Lane at 4436 Pratt Lane. The plan of services outlines how the city will serve the property should it be annexed and gives any consideration for future development. The property is served by the Millcrofton Water District. Development to the property of the property will require extension of the sanitary sewer main, and access to the property shall be provided from Pratt Lane. As the property develops, street improvements may be required. No additional manpower or equipment will be necessary for either fire, police protection, or sanitation. Since this property lies outside of the urban growth boundary, long-range city plans will need to be updated prior to future rezonings and development plans. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission recommend to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen to approve Resolution 2023-49. This concludes my presentation.
All right, thank you. Anyone from the public like to comment on this item? Seeing none. Presentation by the applicant. And that would be none there either. All right, do I have a motion?
Move for approval.
I'll second.
Have a proper motion and a second discussion? Anyone have any thoughts on this one?
I can't get it to load, but oh, there, just load. It looks like all of the properties to the west and the east, it kind of, this site along with 3 or 4 other sites are landlocked around other properties already annexed, right? So they're kind of on an annexed island.
Anything in colors are in the city.
Okay, I have a little bit of a different map, but yeah, so this is kind of an island of unannexed property, so
Yep.
I support annexing this in.
All right. Let's have a roll call vote. Commissioner Allen,
Aye.
Commissioner Franks,
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison is absent, Commissioner Lindsay is absent, Commissioner Mann,
Yes.
Commissioner McLemore,
Aye.
Commissioner Orr votes aye, Alderman Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Williamson.
Aye.
Ayes have it. The motion is approved. Item number 16, consideration of resolutions 2023-48, a resolution requesting a referendum for the annexation of property located at south of the intersection of Painesville Road and Pratt Lane and outside of the southeastern part of the Franklin urban growth boundary by the city of Franklin. Staff?
Thank you. The annexation of 4436 Pratt Lane cannot occur until a referendum has been held where a majority of the property owners requesting annexation vote to have their property annexed by the city of Franklin. This resolution authorizes the request to the Williamson County Election Commission to hold a referendum on October 24th, 2023, in conjunction with the City of Franklin municipal election. The subject property is within close proximity to other parcels that were annexed into city limits over the last several years and partially fills in a donut hole created by past annexations. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission recommend to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen to approve Resolution 2023-48. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Anyone from the public like to comment? None? And there is no applicant. I have a motion on this one?
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a proper motion and a second. Do we have discussion on this?
I guess this is to recommend approval.
Well, move for approval.
To the
yes.
Board of Mayor and Alderman,
To
yes.
recommend approval to the Board of Mayor and Alderman.
Correct.
I like the word donut hole better than island here. So-
Partial donut hole, yeah.
Yep. All right, let's vote on it. Commissioner Allen,
Aye.
Commissioner Franks,
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison is absent, Commissioner Lindsay is absent, Commissioner Mann,
Yes.
Commissioner McLemore,
Aye.
Commissioner Orr votes aye, Alderman Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Williamson.
Aye.
Ayes have it, motion passes. Item number 17, consideration of ordinance 2023-24, an ordinance to zone 5 acres estate residential for the property located south of the intersection of Paytonsville Road and Pratt Lane at 4436 Pratt Lane. Staff?
The applicant's requesting to zone 4436 Pratt Lane to estate residential should the plan of service and the annexation be approved by BOMA and the referendum for annexation pass. The planning and zoning jurisdiction of the city will extend to the annexed area on and after the effective date of annexation. Upon annexation, the Planning Commission will amend Envision Franklin to include these parcels into the document, including assigning design concepts for all parcels. The proposed zoning of estate residential is appropriate for the existing land use and is consistent with zoning of the surrounding properties that were recently annexed into the city. No corresponding site plan or development plan for the property has been submitted at this time. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission recommend to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen to approve ordinance 2023-24. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Anyone from the public like to comment on this one? No. No presentation by the applicant either. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Have a proper motion and a second. Any discussion on this one?
Recommend approval to the Board of Mayor and Alderman.
None? Let's vote. Commissioner Allen,
Aye.
Commissioner Franks.
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison is absent, Commissioner Lindsay is absent. Commissioner Mann,
Yes.
Commissioner McLemore,
Aye.
Commissioner Orr votes aye. Alderman Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Williamson.
Aye.
Ayes have it, motion passes. Item number 18, consideration of ordinance 2023-22, an ordinance to rezone 2.906 acres from Regional Commerce 6 RC-6 district to planned PD 61.3/3362 district for the property located east of McHatcher Memorial Parkway and north of Cool Springs Boulevard, 101 Cool Springs Boulevard, PUD subdivision. Staff.
Thank you. The applicant requested deferral at the May 25th, 2023 FMPC meeting for consideration at this meeting, and the rezoning request / submittal package has not changed. The applicant is requesting to rezone the property from Regional Commerce 6 district to Planned District to accommodate the proposed development plan for 101 Cool Springs Boulevard. The development plan has been submitted concurrently, and Envision Franklin places this property into Regional Commerce Design Concept. The proposed development meets the minimum recommendations of Envision Franklin by providing a mix of uses that include commercial and multifamily residential. Although the amount of activated ground floor commercial use is very minimal, like approved developments nearby. The site layout provides an urban feel with building line streets, creating a walkable development, and provides architecture that fits with the style of the corridor. The regional commerce design concept supports a mix of uses, and the uses proposed are supported within the design concept. With that said, a better mix of uses as allowed within the existing RC6 zoning district could help facilitate an improvement in projected traffic flows by dispersing traffic onto Cool Springs Boulevard at different peak times of the day. While the proportions of multifamily to commercial space is consistent with the approved projects adjacent to this project, the transportation infrastructure does not support the proposed mix of uses, which is predominantly multifamily residential with peak traffic volumes projected at similar times of day. Envision Franklin directs growth in areas where existing or planned infrastructure can support the proposed uses, and the uses proposed with this development plan place so much strain on the existing transportation infrastructure that minimum traffic requirements cannot be met. The 101 Cool Springs development has submitted their final version of the traffic impact analysis in accordance with the City of Franklin TIA guidelines. There were study any intersections that did not meet our overall level of service D, and individual movements that had delays worse than level of service E. Thus, there are intersections and movements that did not meet city standards. Mitigation was not recommended for the Cool Springs at McEwen intersection, which is showing the greatest amount of excessive delay in the study. The intersection fails to an overall level of service F with this development. The added vehicular trips of this and adjacent developments in the area further increase traffic along Cool Springs Boulevard and this area in general. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission recommend to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen to disapprove Ordinance 2023-22, and Jimmy Wiseman is here to add a few more points about the traffic.
Thank you, Chelsea. Since the opening of Northwest Mac Hatcher, we've seen about a 15% increase in traffic on Cool Springs Boulevard. With that added traffic, as we've approved Optima just up the street, the Haven just next door, there's been a lot of multifamily that's been approved in this corridor. So with that, we've scoped multiple traffic studies, and we continue to do so. And with this one, we're seeing, as Chelsea mentioned, the level of service that is in our current standards not being met. The overall level of service D, we're at an F. And in some of the turning movements, we're at 130 seconds of delay on some of those movements. So we're at a point where our standards just can't be met with this development. And with many other intersections in Cool Springs, there may not be mitigation available to make improvements to improve that level of service. It should be noted that in the coming weeks and months, we're going to be having discussions with the Board of Mayor and Aldermen about the Cool Springs corridor and what our projected traffic looks like now, what we anticipate it to look like with more development, and what is acceptable from a dense urban environment. So our standards will be looked at in those discussions, but today our standards are what they are, and therefore our recommendation is disapproval. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any public comment on this one? None? Do I have a motion?
Wait, somebody.
Oh, sorry, I was going to run it right through. Sorry, do we have an applicant?
Hi, my name is Greg Gamble with Gamble Design Collaborative, and I'm here tonight representing the Recklers. Mitch and Ben Reckler are here with me tonight, as well as our design team from Kimley Horn and 906 Studios. I have a quick presentation. I'd like to go ahead and do it now, if you don't mind, with the rezoning request. A lot of it relates to the development plan, but I think it would be appropriate to talk with you about it at this time. I also have some handouts that I think will be relevant in this. You may not need orientation, but in case you do, this property is at the corner of Cool Springs Boulevard and Mac Hatcher on the northwest corner of the intersection. It's currently zoned regional commerce, and we're requesting rezoning to PD district. We started this process several months ago, evaluating Envision Franklin, evaluating the height criteria, designing a building that we really wanted to respond well to the context that it was in, and we proposed this 6-story building. We had quite a number of comments at the Joint Conceptual Workshop in response to this about the height of the building, and really designing a building that responded to the context in a different way that we hadn't originally considered. Haven, as you know, is currently approved. It's a 6-story multifamily building. Legends View is 4-story townhomes. Then we have NHC, and we have Optima, which is also a mixed-use development. So this is kind of the context that we're in. If we were submitting to you today a master plan that included multifamily with a general store on the ground floor and a 50,000 square foot medical office building, well, that would certainly go above and beyond some of the mixed-use considerations that you've looked at in other PUDs. This property actually has directly adjacent to an existing 2-story, 50,000 square foot medical office building. So it does fit within the context of mixed use and complements those businesses that are around it. The new master plan proposes a building that completely encompasses the amenities on the first floor residential living level. There's 2 levels of parking underneath this building that are cut into the change of grade as it goes from the medical office building up to Cool Springs Boulevard. So the parking will all be covered and secured below the building. This is the elevation at the corner of Cool Springs Boulevard and Mac Hatcher, 3 stories maximum. In our previous plan, we had gabled roofs. We've taken those off, so now these are flat roofs that are in keeping with and compatible with a lot of the architecture that you're seeing on Cool Springs Boulevard and what's been approved on Cool Springs Boulevard. On this hard corner, we've located our fitness club. That's to provide more pedestrian activity and activation out on this corner. This is the elevation along Cool Springs Boulevard, and you can see the transition from 3 stories to 4 stories as we're going from Mac Hatcher Parkway toward Mallory. This is the elevation then along Mac Hatcher, 3 stories. The 4-story piece is recessed back behind the building and doesn't start until it's further back in the site. So the view plane from the vehicles will be 3 stories along Mac Hatcher Parkway. There are, again, as I was saying, multiple levels in the building, 2 levels of parking below. In order to activate our entrance drive coming in, we have 2 levels of residential that are shown in blue that have their own individual garages associated with those apartments. So you'll be able to rent that apartment, pull right into your garage, lower the garage door, and you have a safe, secure entrance for those on that level. This is the corner that is facing Aspen Grove Medical. This is the commercial area down the ground floor. While we aren't exactly sure what use is going in there, we love the idea of it being retail or cafe or restaurant, coffee shop. It could be some potential for some unique office space, but we really like this as an amenity for residents, not only of 101 Cool Springs, but of Haven next door. You've got a walkable relationship there that we know is very important. There is a portion of the parking garage that's gated. It does not include the spaces that you're seeing here in orange. These spaces that you're seeing here in orange are intended to be open for guests, but also for people who are coming to use those commercial spaces. There's a total of 62 inside the garage and 15 parking spaces on the outside of the garage, allowing people the opportunity to park, go in for sundries for that commercial space. This is our proposed building in relationship to Haven. Haven, again, is 6 stories in height. Its building height is 765-foot elevation. Ours goes to the 761. And so that 4-foot difference, it actually has a lower existing grade than the building that we're proposing. So even though we're 4 stories on this corner, we do sit up higher in elevation based on existing grade. And what is so unique about this architectural design that's been provided by 906 is this relationship transitioning from 3 stories to 4 stories to the 6-story building. Without this transition, Haven is going to stick out like a sore thumb. There needs to be some context and some relationship of architecture that gives it more grounded, more reason for being that height. We know that we received a lot of comments about not being 6 stories at the hard corner of McHatcher and Cool Springs Boulevard, and have taken that to heart. Now, this proposed development is still boutique in size as it relates to some of these others that are approved along Cool Springs Boulevard. But from a form, design, and relationship standpoint, having this transitional context, we believe is very important. Otherwise, Haven is really going to stand out along Cool Springs Boulevard. This is looking back at McHatcher. You see now the context and the difference in lowering our building to 3 stories as opposed to the previous 6. It has a much stronger relationship with the 3-story office buildings that are along McHatcher today. Previously, our 6-story building was about 50 feet taller in height. That scale's been lowered down. We're now about 229 feet from the top of Roper's Knob, so still being very respectful of that relationship as well. This image shows that context then of the 3-story office buildings that are on McHatcher today and the 3-story building that we're proposing, and that relationship to Haven as you transition down Cool Springs Boulevard. So you can kind of see from this image, if this were 1-story or 1.5-story buildings, how much that would really make Haven stand out, whereas having a building that transitions down the street really starts to tie the future vision of this area of Cool Springs together. I've had several comments with engineering staff and long-range planning about the Cool Springs area and about Berry Farms. And if you look at this 11 by 17 that I've provided, I know we all like to kind of look at numbers. The blue area that you're seeing here at the top, these are the existing approved PUD developments that are in Cool Springs and Berry Farms today. Looking at the development report that you reviewed just a couple of months ago, there is a total of 1,100 townhomes or condominiums that are approved, 7,355 multifamily apartments that are approved. What we haven't spent a lot of time talking about as a city is the total square footage of office, the number of hotel rooms, and the total square footage of retail and restaurants that are also approved in the Cool Springs and Berry Farms areas. These are job generators. We've included here a line called employment rate. For office, we have 4 employees per 1,000 square feet. For hotels, 1 employee per 5 rooms. For restaurants and retails, about 2.5 employees per 1,000 square feet. When these PUDs develop and these businesses that are a part of these PUDs are occupied and these businesses are running, we're anticipating about 38,800 jobs added to the Cool Springs and Berry Farms areas. Today, 41% of our population in Franklin is employed. Extrapolating this out, we would have an additional 94,000 residents, whether they're in the city of Franklin or Williamson County or South Nashville or in Columbia, that are contributing to our workforce and population here in the city of Franklin. We currently have 34.5% of our population in Franklin that rents a home, rents an apartment, rents a townhome. That's according to our 2020 census that just came out. According to the population growth that we're looking at with the current approved PUDs, we need 14,199 additional rental homes. Now that is not going to all be in Cool Springs or in Franklin, Tennessee. We recognize that. People are going to live in Nashville. People are going to live in Columbia. People are going to live in Spring Hill. And they may rent there and they may drive in. Today, we have a total of 70,153 approximately people who commute into Franklin every single day to work. They live outside of the city of Franklin. With the job increases that we're anticipating as a part of the approved PUDs that are in Cool Springs and Berry Farms, that increases to 109,000 commuters that drive into Franklin every single day. The multifamily apartments in Cool Springs allow for the recapture of trips. They allow for people who live here to work here, to not have to get on I-65. Now, we're not going to be able to accommodate everybody, but these multifamily apartment developments are key to providing homes and opportunities for people who work here and are going to continue to move to Franklin, Tennessee, to live in close proximity to where they work. The next page that I provided to you here on this 8.5 by 11 is the intersection of Cool Springs Boulevard and McEwen Drive. Right now, this intersection is 1/2 a second away from failure after you add all of the background and approved developments that are already approved as a part of this. And what does that mean? A failing intersection is 80 seconds. Our proposed development in the PM peak hour changes that to 83.3 seconds. The AM peak hour operates at a level of service C with a delay of 34.4 seconds. What you're seeing here in red, the top number is our contribution to this intersection in the AM peak hour, and then on the bottom is the PM peak hour. So the bottom, we increased 3.9 seconds. That's what's creating the failure in staff's recommendation for disapproval. I know Jimmy stated in his presentation that they are going to be having a conversation with the board and mayor and aldermen about these policies and the limits at the intersections. I would just like to request tonight that if you agree with the form, if you agree with our transition down Cool Springs Boulevard, if you agree with what we've proposed, that you allow this to move forward to the board and mayor and aldermen with a positive recommendation so that they can take this into consideration when they're looking at this policy as it relates to traffic improvements at these intersections here in Cool Springs. As a planner, no disrespect to our traffic engineers, I know that there are assumptions that have to be made at these intersections when you're doing traffic studies. There's kind of a margin of error there, 5, 6 seconds, 10 seconds. Every day is going to be different. Traffic is going to move differently in the summer than it does when school's in. Traffic's going to move differently during holidays than it is during work days. And so they're doing their best to create a model, but when you're talking about 3 seconds and you're basing a determination on 3 seconds or half a second, we've got to recognize that there is some gray area there as how traffic moves. There are going to be situations where the delay is greater than 83 seconds. There's going to be days where the delay is less than 83 seconds. So I know that we're kind of working with the law of averages there, but if you agree with our proposed use, our plan, our scale, our transition down Cool Springs Boulevard, I just ask that you recommend support of this so we can have this conversation with BOMA. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
All right, thank you. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second to that? Motion fails for lack of second. Can I get another motion?
Motion to disapprove.
Second. I guess we're
Now-
recommending.
now, well, we're recommending disapproval to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay.
Now, we, as our legal counsel has said, whether we're following up, the recommendation from staff or not, we must say why we are moving to disapprove, and I will say this. Now, plan's great, if it were somewhere else. And so I must say, I don't think it is our duty to kick the can down the road to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. I think we must make our recommendation based off its own merits, and then the Board of Mayor and Aldermen can do whatever they will. I don't think we should ever, and we had this discussion at a joint meeting about traffic, and staff asked us for our thoughts on traffic and how they should handle any project that came in. And I don't, with good conscience, I will never support any project. I don't care who proposed it and how great it looked, that already had failing traffic, failing intersections within it, that, or even intersections that were at D. And one of the other things is we have to look at what we've already approved, sites that have already been approved that are not even in play yet. And so this would just be adding on another level and another level and another level. And so I could never support this project, which, fits in with other things. It's great and all of that. And I will never kick the can down the road to another board, and they just have to do what they feel is right. And so that's why I cannot, and I just can't support it.
Yeah, and I'll say, I think unfortunately this development's probably the little straw that's breaking the camel's back, that 3.9 seconds. And for, that reason, but also just setting a precedent, because we know there's going to be other developments and, theirs might be less, but then it's cumulative. Other than that, the presentation, sensitivity of site, like all that, I don't have an issue with at all. It's really, truly traffic and setting precedents.
Just a question for the applicant. The information you gave us today, has staff had a chance to review that?
I've reviewed it with engineering and with long-range planning. I was hoping that it might be helpful as they're going through this Envision Franklin process to kind of look at some of that data.
All right, thank you. Is there any additional discussion?
No, go ahead, Alma.
I couldn't support it because of the level of service F, as Jimmy explained. I just felt like it was just going to be too much traffic, more traffic coming into the area that was going to affect the level of service. And it is a good plan, and I appreciate you talking about the other development that was going to be overshadowing, and it's going to look really, really huge in comparison, and adding this would probably help it. I appreciate that, but just the traffic issue, I just felt like that's just a little bit too much.
Yeah, likewise, I like the project. It is just the traffic for me as well. And I think that if the Board of Mayor and Aldermen want to go through their process and update their traffic standards, then, we could reconsider it and at that time. But as it currently sits today, I just can't recommend approval for something that I know is going to bring that level of failure. I can also sympathize with the applicants in that we've approved, you saw 3 other projects, I think. They're very similar, and unfortunately, this is an issue of timing. As the straw that broke the camel's back, and had this one come first, it would maybe be a different story, but that's just unfortunately the timeline we're on. So, I welcome BOMA's thoughts on traffic, but until then, I just can't support it.
And thank you for bringing this report to us. We do have an issue with places for people to live, and the points that you made from this report are very valid, and we have to look at these things. And the project that you brought before us, you were trying to provide more apartments or whatever, but what would have been the price points? And I don't need to ask that question now. I'm sorry. That's okay.
Here's what kind of gets me on this whole situation. When Jimmy mentioned added traffic, the 15% increase on since the new McCatcher got opened up, and then we sit here tonight and increase West Haven to 5 stores instead of 4 stores, and all that discussion about the short property and all that development that's going to occur, this parcel gets penalized. And I'd go straight to BOMA. I think you got to make an argument. This property was there in the beginning. It's been there ready and teed up for development and for the need of the Cool Springs retail, Cool Springs workforce. And it's closer, it's in proximity, it allows more walkable, more bike riding, more trolleying that can occur to support our patrons in Cool Springs. The traffic out at West Haven and short property they're passing through. So, I think we're a little naive to think that we're opening the floodgates to everybody out west, but penalizing the ones that were intended to be supportive of the Cool Springs Regional. Am I right, Greg? Mm-hmm. So,
Commissioner Franks, just for clarification, staff is supportive of development happening here. I think our recommendation comes at developing within the zoning that it's currently zoned at, which is RC6, that would provide for traffic to be dispersed across a larger scale of times. So Jimmy can speak to that to a little bit more, but I will say staff is supportive of development. It has,
Well, I mean, I don't mean you're not. I'm just
sure.
saying.
I just wanted to make sure that you
He brought up a
understood.
good point about the 15% increase and then how it has a adverse effect on this particular parcel. I understand.
If there's a more complementary use to the existing multifamily was there, could be an impact, positive impact. Greg's right. There's no way around us reaching failure at McEwen and Cool Springs Boulevard. That's going to happen. But several of you mentioned already, it's kind of death by 1,000 cuts. And our standards say what they say today, and that's where our recommendation comes from. If that were to change in the future, then perhaps we look at Cool Springs a lot differently than we do today from a level of service standpoint, and there may be an argument for
Did the
that.
last 3 properties have to be rezoned?
Yes, they did. They were rezoned to PUDs, each of them.
Additional discussion? Nope. We have a proper motion to recommend disapproval to the board and mayor alderman. And a proper second. As there's no more discussion, we'll call for the roll call vote. Commissioner Allen,
Aye.
Commissioner Franks,
No.
Commissioner Harrison is absent, Commissioner Lindsay is absent, Commissioner Mann,
Yes.
Commissioner McLemore,
Aye.
Commissioner Orr votes aye. Alderman Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Williamson.
Aye.
The ayes have it. The motion to recommend disapproval to the Board of Mayor and Alderman passes. Item 19, consideration of resolutions 2023-42, a resolution approving a development plan for 101 Cool Springs Boulevard PUD subdivision for the property located east of McHatcher Memorial Parkway and north of Cool Springs Boulevard. Staff?
Thank you. 101 Cool Springs Boulevard PUD subdivision is approximately 3 acres in size and is located east of McHatcher Memorial Parkway and north of Cool Springs Boulevard. The proposed development consists of 178 multifamily units and 3,362 square feet of commercial space. The development plan is contingent upon the associated zoning, and due to the recommendation of the rezoning and the previously mentioned reasons, staff recommends that the Planning Commission recommend to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen to disapprove Resolution 2023-42. Thank you.
Anyone from the public like to comment? No? Applicant?
Hi, Greg Gamble again. I don't have any other items to present, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
All right. Have a motion on this item?
Motion to approve.
All right. Motion fails due to lack of second. Can I get another motion?
Motion to disapprove. Motion to recommend disapproval to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen.
All right. Do I have a second to that motion?
Second.
Have a proper motion and a second. Discussion?
This is maybe a question to staff. And I mean, if the Board of Mayor and Aldermen were to approve the rezoning, then I think I would support this, recommend approval of this. But I guess if they're not going to recommend, I wouldn't recommend rezoning, so I wouldn't recommend the plan because of the property or because of the traffic. So I guess there's no caveat there to make a motion out of, but I'll put that on the record that if the rezoning were to be approved by BOMA, then I think I would support the development plan. Does that make sense?
Any additional discussion? right, we have a proper motion of disapproval to the board and mayor aldermen. Let's have a roll call vote. Commissioner Allen,
Aye.
Commissioner Franks,
No.
Commissioner Harrison is absent, Commissioner Lindsay is absent, Commissioner Mann,
Yes.
Commissioner McLemore,
Aye.
Commissioner Orr votes aye, Alderman Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Williamson.
Aye.
The ayes have it. The motion to recommend disapproval to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen passes. Do we have any non-agenda items? None? Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Have a proper motion and second. Let's vote. Commissioner Allen,
Aye.
Commissioner Franks.
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison is absent, Commissioner Lindsay is absent, Commissioner Mann,
Yes.
Commissioner McLemore,
Aye.
Commissioner Orr votes aye, Alderman Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Williamson.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. We are adjourned.
If the Board of Mayor